The next model of oligopoly is called the Kinked demand curve model, and it helps to explain why prices under the oligopoly market structure tend to remain stable over time. And in order to build up this model, we have two main assumptions. Assumption number one, if a firm raises its price, its competitors will not follow, causing a sharp decrease in quantity demanded. So here, if a firm raises prices, no one is going to follow that. Assumption number two, if a firm decides to lower its prices, its competitors are going to follow. So everyone follows that, which results in only a small increase in quantity demanded. So keep these assumptions in mind. Firm raises its prices, no one follows. Firm lowers its prices, everybody is going to follow that. So what does the illustration look like? Seems a little bit difficult, a little bit complex, but we'll break it down into smaller pieces. We have the entire industry demand curve right here, which is going to be denoted with a big D. So this is the entire industry demand, the big D. It also has its own marginal revenue curve, so MR big D that we see right here. And then we have the individual firm, which is going to be denoted with a small d for the demand curve. So here, small d, and it also has its own marginal revenue curve as well, MR small d. So big D and small d right here for the individual firm and also for the entire industry. I should probably stop saying big D and small d, but here this is exactly how we're going to be denoting this. And with all of this, we can go ahead and take a look at the intersection of the industry demand curve and the individual firm demand curve. So the intersection of the big D and small d lines right here at point E, and that's where we're going to start us off. So what happens if the individual firm decides to raise its prices? We said that the assumption number one, if a firm decides to raise its prices, no one is going to follow that. So the only relevant part of the demand curve is going to be for the individual firm right here, the small d. So this is exactly why we bold this part right here. So everywhere where the firm decides to raise its prices from this intersection, that's the only relevant demand curve. And because that's the only relevant portion of the demand curve, that's also the only relevant portion of the marginal revenue curve as well. So that's exactly why we see these bolded right here. However, what happens if this one firm decides to lower its prices? If the one firm lowers its prices, we hit on assumption number two, and that's where everybody follows that. So all the competitors, so everyone within the entire industry. So that's where we go along this industry demand curve right here, the big D. So that's why it's bolded right here. So the small firm decides to lower its prices. Every other single firm is going to follow that. So the bolded line is for the entire industry. And therefore, we see the same marginal revenue curve being denoted as well, bolded right here for the entire industry with the big D. So this is going to lead us to some type of discontinuity, as you can see, between the relevant portions of the marginal revenue curve. Before, from all the way up to point A, it's only going to be on the individual demand curve for the individual firm, and then all the way from point B and onwards, it's only going to be for the entire industry. So there's a big gap between point A and point B. But that just tells us that when we do the five-step pattern for maximizing profits, the marginal cost curve can go anywhere from point B all the way to point A, anywhere in between, and it will still return us the same profit maximizing price of P0 right here. If we had a very, very high cost, say at MC1, MC is going to intersect the marginal revenue curve right here, so therefore the profit maximizing price is P0. If we had a relatively lower cost, say at MC0 right here, it intersects the marginal revenue curve right here. So at point B, when we hit the profit maximizing price, remember we read off of the demand curve, it returns us the same exact profit maximizing price, P0. So anywhere from point A in between point B right here, the marginal cost can differ and it will still return us the same price. So as you can see right here, any marginal cost between MC0 and MC1 is going to lead to the same optimum price. And that's just where the discontinuity comes into play. So this is essentially showing us exactly why prices under the oligopoly market structure tend to remain relatively stable over time because it produces this discontinuity. We have the assumptions built into mind about whether or not firms are going to be following the price increase or the price decrease. So it just allows for a lot of flexibility for marginal cost that allows for the same price to be charged if we follow the same five-step pattern for maximizing profits. So the second model under the oligopoly market structure, where we see exactly why firms are going to be charging relatively stable prices over time. And once again, hits on the idea of mutual interdependence. Once again, what is a firm going to do if a firm decides to raise or lower its prices? And that's exactly where we lead to this second model.